Good morning. Today we are going to introduce you to how to make introductions. I am going to do three things. The first thing I am going to show you is how do you greet people, what kind of greetings do you use. The second thing we are going to do is what is the hierarchy of introductions. How does one introduce oneself? How does one introduce one person to another person? And the third thing we will do is the rules for using first names, titles and so on. Okay? So, these are the three things we will do in the session today. Now, the importance of greetings. Why do we greet people? Why do we greet people? Have you ever thought about that? Why do we greet people at all? What is the meaning of greetings and salutations? There is some kind of rituals, right? So, what is the meaning of rituals of this kind? When I come to the classroom, you wish me in the morning. What is the meaning? Why do we do it? When you pass a friend, you wish them. In every culture, we have some kind of greetings and salutations. What is the meaning of these? Why do we do them? We do them because it is the way of saying, I acknowledge you. You want to show your friendliness towards another person. You want to acknowledge the presence of another person. Yeah? Just want to create a feeling of, to build relationships with people. So, such little small rituals, they are very small gestures, but they go a long way in improving your relationships. They go a long way in showing your attitude towards another person. Now, in every culture we have people greeting one another using local forms of greeting. In every language we have greetings. So, how many of you are doing art of living? Any of you doing art of living? In art of living they have the greeting Jai Gurudev, Jai Gurudev. But what I am saying is that in every culture we greet somebody with a namaste or Jai Ram Ji ki or khud Salam Alaikum, Adab. Yeah? But in the Western world we use greetings like good morning and so on. But it does not matter what the greeting is, the importance is whether you greet or you do not greet. Now, if you notice in India and in the Western world, I will not name institutions, but most institutions people just pass you by without greeting you. You know, when you pass someone in the corridor, you meet someone in the parking lot, you know each other, but people just pass you by without even greeting you. Whereas in the West, whenever you go to a work, when you enter your workplace, you meet somebody at the door, you meet someone in the parking lot, you meet someone when you are entering your room, you meet someone in the loo, whoever you meet, they always say hi there, or they shout a greeting to you. They nod even if they do not use verbal greetings. So, that is part of the etiquette. But in India we tend to forget this. Even if we know someone, we just pass them by without greeting, because there seems to be a confusion whether we should greet or we should not greet. So, do not at work always make it a habit to greet anybody you meet pleasantly first time you see someone, particularly subordinate staff. Now, there is also a hierarchy, like do not go on an ego trip. You say, okay, this person is junior to me, why should I be greeting them? You could also greet your juniors, there is no problem with that. Initiate the greeting. You can initiate the greeting. Let me give you an example. Like we have different kinds of people at the top, and some say directors within IIT Kharagpur, they wait for you to greet them. Okay, they feel the director is supposed to be the highest authority in an IIT, and the director waits for everybody is junior to him, whether he is students or staff or faculty, and the director waits for you to make the first move and nods to you. Usually that is a precedent, but then we had a director who would, initially it was unnerving because That's actually polite, but none of us were used to it. So when he would be passing by, you would find somebody shouting hello, good morning to you, or nodding to you, and you were not used to, first of all, the head of the institution greeting you, but that's the normal thing. Whereas we had expected the other way to be normal, that you greet the senior person. Okay. Respond to all greetings, especially from juniors, with a smile and pleasant eye contact and perhaps a brief word. So usually you have senior people, when you greet them, they very curtly nod to you. Okay, like I'm doing you a favor just by greeting you. So you can be pleasant even if someone's junior to you. Now we look at some of the structures for greeting. May I have some of you come here and look at the range of greetings. I'll quickly show you the slide to show you the range between the very formal greeting and the very informal greeting and the responses to them. If it's a very formal greeting, then the response also should be a formal response. If it's an informal greeting, then the response is also informal, otherwise it's very odd. So, and then there are cultural norms. Now, in Western cultures, like when you go to US or wherever you go to study abroad, you will find that you can shout hello to your supervisor or your professor. It's okay to do that. Okay. But in India, some senior people, more traditional academics, don't like being greeted with a hello. I do recall a former professor who complained. In fact, he said, this person has no etiquette. If an American student comes and says hello to me, I don't mind, but an Indian student coming and saying hello to me, it's not acceptable to me. So you have to think of who you are greeting, and depending on that, you have to decide accordingly what greeting you would use. So let's have some role plays on what kind of greetings, going from the very informal to the very formal. Okay. You run into your friend on your way to class.
Hey Yashpal.
Hey
Yo man. So, going for class?
Yeah. Had you breakfast?
Yeah. Oh, I remember one thing. Have you done your maths assignment?
Oh, I totally forgot about that.
Okay. No problem, man. See you later.
Yeah.
Looking for his way to some room in IIT.
Hi, this is my first day at IIT. Can you please tell me the way to NR222 classroom?
Oh, hi. Actually, just go straight and take the first left. There you will be.
Thank you very much.
You meet a stranger at the CAT interview.
Hello, have you come for the interview?
Oh, yes, I have.
You've come to meet me in my office.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just want to see my answer.
That's it.
थोड़ा दूर है, तो चलते हैं.
Another way of greeting, as they do it in the US.
Hey man, how you doing?
Fine, bro.
Cool.
So greetings range from the very informal to the most formal. It's a range. We begin with the most informal.
Hey senior.
Hey Anjali, going for class?
Yes, you?
See you there.
Bye.
Little more formal.
Hello senior.
Good morning. Have a good day.
You too.
Most formal.
Good morning ma'am.
Good morning Anjali.
From greetings, we move on to introductions. Well, why do we need to introduce, and where? Whether you are at a business meeting or at a social mixer, boardroom, when overlooked by someone's introductions, when seated next to someone at a luncheon, when someone's having trouble placing you. So we need to introduce ourselves and we need to introduce others. In the olden days when people knew each other, one didn't have to introduce them. But today we often come into contact with strangers, people we don't know. So it's very important. Introductions have become the norm. We need to introduce people to one another. We need to introduce ourselves to others. How does one make introductions, and what is the hierarchy of introductions? We'll look at that next. Introducing yourself. How do you introduce yourself? That's the first thing we're going to do. So how would you do it? So suppose you go to a party. We'll begin with a social situation and then we move to a business situation. You go to a party and you're standing there and the host is too busy to introduce you. So what would you do? Or you may meet a group of people who you assume you already know the new person, so they don't think that introductions are necessary. So you might have to introduce yourself if you are going to be talking to anyone in a party with unfamiliar faces. Remember that if you forgot your introduction etiquette, a bright smile goes a long way. So you are in a party and you are introducing yourself.
Hey, my name is Nachiketa.
Hi, my name is Dhairya.
Nice meeting you.
Introducing yourself in a business setting. The first version.
Hello, my name is Nachiketa Waghela. I am in the account section.
Hi, Nachiketa Waghela. My name is Dhairya Solanki and I am in the Shrek office.
Now we have a second version.
Good morning. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Anjali Jha.
Hello, Anjali. Nice to meet you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay, which version was better, the first or the second? And which response was better? How do you respond when someone introduces himself or herself? How are you supposed to respond? When someone says, how do you do? You're supposed to say, how do you do? You don't say, I'm doing well. You say, how do you do? With younger people and in more informal settings, you say hello or hi, but don't say pleased to meet you, because you can't mix up. Remember, you can't mix up the formal and the informal. If you are using formal, use formal throughout. If you're using informal, use informal. Never assume how do you do means how are you. That's what I said. When you say how you're doing, how do you do, it doesn't mean you start a string of a list of the ailments you're suffering from or the problems you've had in the last week. You're just supposed to say you're good. Don't give a true account of your state of health. So if imagine how odd it will be. Say somebody says, I'd like to introduce myself, and you say fine, fine, because you're mixing the very informal and very formal. If someone says, I'd like to introduce myself, you say, pleased to meet you, I'm happy to meet you, I'm pleased to meet you, it's a pleasure meeting you. So you always use the formal and the formal, don't mix up the informal with the formal. Now we come to the hierarchy. Introductions, greetings are all about hierarchy. As I said earlier, the junior person, the senior person always waits for juniors to greet them, because there's a hierarchy. You say, okay, this person is junior to me, so you should be greeting me, not the other way around. And the olden days the rules were very clear, but now the rules are so confusing that people just don't greet, because the old army rule is that the man always greets a woman. So if you meet your friends from our Air Force officers from Salwa or Kalaikunda, they are extremely well mannered, because they immediately greet a woman because they are trained to do it. They'll open doors. So all those things are considered very old fashioned now. When the old army rules is the man always greets a woman, the woman doesn't greet a man. But today the business world has changed. Precedent and respect is signaled by the name said first. Courtesy gives honor to those who are female, older or more distinguished. Men should be introduced to women. Chandana, may I introduce Amit Sengupta? Amit, sorry, there's a mistake. Amit, this is Chandana Basu. You always introduce younger people to their elders or junior employees, say to more senior people such as directors. A new arrival should be introduced to a group, and husbands and wives should be introduced separately by name. Pooja and Aditya Mehra, not as the Divans or the Mehras. That's not how you do it. Introducing men to women. So let's do a role play. Watch a role play on how a man is introduced to a woman. Role play on introducing men to women. First version.
Hello Astike. Hello. She is Vibhuti Singhania.
Pleasure to meet you.
Hi Astike. Nice meeting.
The second version now.
Hello Astike. I'd like you to meet my friend Vibhuti.
Hi Astike.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Introducing younger people to older people. You introducing your friend to your mother.
Hi Vibhuti. She's my mother Anjali.
Hello ma'am. Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you. The second version.
Good morning, Mom.
Hi.
I'd like you to meet my friend who has come from IIT, Astike.
Hi Astike. How are you?
I'm fine now.
Introducing people to someone in authority.
Good morning, sir. Mr. Tai, I'd like you to meet the fresh MBA graduate who is the head of the finance team in our company, Mr. Sandeep Tandya. Sir, who is the CEO of our company.
Okay, nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
Introducing a single person to a group.
Good morning, everyone. If you'll allow me, I'd like you to meet the new person, this gentleman who is a fresh graduate from IIT Kharagpur who has joined our company. So you've already met Mr. Thai.
Yes.
So he's Mr. Viswanath and he's Mr. Basu, and they're there in the finance team.
Hello.
Along with you.
Nice to
Let's look at the rules about using names. When do you use surnames and when do you use names? Bear in mind that introductions should help people to decide what mode of address to use. If you know someone very well and use a nickname, it's more helpful to introduce your friend by the name, or the other person may be expected to use.
Okay, before we proceed with the meeting, I've already introduced you, sir, to them. If we can quickly go by the introduction once again. Meet Mr. Viswanath.
Yeah.
No sir, his name is Biswanath.
Mr. A.V. Ramacharlu.
No, sorry, my name is A.V. Ramacharyalu.
Okay.
And Mr. Sandeep Tandya.
Okay.
Are you one of those people who forgets names? I always do that. If you're a kindred soul and you forget names, what do? You've just been introduced to someone and you've forgotten their name.
Nice meeting you. So I usually forget the name. So may I have your name, please?
Biswanath.
Vishwanath. This is the correct way of pronouncing your name.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, A.V. Ramacharyalu.
It's A.V. Ramacharyalu.
A.V. Ramacharyalu.
Nice meeting you too.
Thank you, sir.
Sandeep.
Yeah, Sandeep. Nice meeting you too.
In a more formal context, you may also use titles such as Lord or Professor. Older people will be expected to be introduced by their title. So suppose you go to the Jaipur literary festival, and you meet the author Naipaul. Are you going to say, this is Mr. Naipaul? You know that he is now Lord. You say, Sir, V.S. Naipaul. Okay? And in IIT, for instance, people are very particular. You can't dare to introduce someone as Mr. So-and-so. Even medical doctors, if you dare introduce a medical doctor by saying Mr. Bhattacharya, he's going to be very offended. You say, Dr. Bhattacharya, Professor Roy, not Mrs. Roy, right? So you must be very careful about titles. And the second thing is about using first names. You must always play it safe. Always address people who are senior to you by their surname. It's always the appellation followed by a surname. Mr. So-and-so, Dr. So-and-so, Professor so-and-so. Unless the person himself says, call me John or call me Jane or whatever, you wait for them to tell you. You don't initiate it. The person you are introducing should not have to guess that the other is, for example, a doctor or a lord, or even someone who would rather be called Mrs. It's considerate for the person making the introduction to provide information that may avert future embarrassment. Now, this happens, this embarrassment is very common in the Indian setting, because everyone assumes that a woman above a certain age should be married. And I've myself been, I've heard people introduce colleagues of mine who were single, very happily single, but they were introduced as Mrs. So-and-so. And these women had taken, they had learned to take it in their stride, that they would never correct them. They would just say, okay, it's fine, because they've got used to the idea that everybody should be Mrs. So-and-so. But in today's world, you dare do it. You address somebody who is single as, even a married woman as Mrs., because today the correct title is Ms. So let's watch some role plays.
Before you go ahead with your presentation, I've already introduced you to Mr. Tayak. Okay.
Sorry, I should say Dr. Tayak.
I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Dr. Tayak.
Using first names, it depends on your organization. Different organizations have different cultures. In IIT, for instance, in IIT Kharagpur, for instance, even if we are talking to a junior colleague, we always add the designation doctor or professor before we address them. We don't use first names. But in IIT Bombay, everyone uses first names. You can call your senior by their first name and they don't feel offended. So it depends on which kind of organization you are in. Advertising companies, for instance, or software companies, you call your boss by your first name because they allow you to do it. Now, don't initiate the move. Wait for your boss to ask you to use your first name, his first name.
Good morning, Mr. Tayak. I have come up with a new presentation for the project we are working on.
So, it's nice meeting you again, but you can simply call me by my first name, so it's perfectly acceptable with me.
Okay. Mr. Jia.
Yeah, Mr. Pai.
It's less common in everyday practice to introduce someone as Mr. Joy Bhattacharya, although Mr., Mrs. and Miss are titles too. An exception may be made when introducing a child to an adult. Some adults wish children to address them as, for example, Mrs. Sinha. However, to introduce people using the titles Mr., Mrs. or Miss for one party and not the other may imply that you are insinuating one party is less important, so you must be sensitive and not appear rude.
So I'd like you to introduce to Professor Roy, Ramakrishnan Rao.
Etiquette for nicknames, pet names, shortened names. If you've been introduced to Natasha, but everyone calls her Shah or Tash, you should continually call her Natasha until she requests to be called by her shortened name. That's because you're not at that level of friendship and familiarity as others. However, if she introduces herself as Shah, you may call her Shah then. Now let's watch what happens in this situation.
Hello, Miss Nandra. How are you doing?
You can call me Xenia. We're of the same age.
Hey, Zini. How are you?
I mean, you can't call me Zini. I mean, my friends call me by that name.
Sorry.
I'll conclude with some of the structures that you can use for making introductions. Just like greetings, there's a range from the very informal to the very formal, and again back from the very formal to the very informal. So you could you could say, like one of my former professors used to introduce me, with a very formal introduction. Allow me to introduce you to Professor Dr. Gera Roy. Now, if you're the senior most person in the group, a person in authority, and on the wrong side of 80, you are permitted to do that because it goes with your image. But if I try to do it, I'd sound very pompous and stupid. I'd like to introduce you. That's the other variation. I'd like to introduce you. Let me introduce you. I'd like you to meet. Another way of saying it is, have you met so and so? Or just say, meet. This is, and followed by the name. Or just say the name. When there are a lot of people, we don't have time to say, allow me to introduce you, or let me introduce you, or meet so and so. You just say the name. So, like in introductions, like in greetings, we must know when to use the right form, the very formal usage or the very informal usage, depending on the age, gender, the context, the atmosphere in which you meet. So you may never use your boss's name in the business context, even if the boss happens to be your friend. But if you meet your boss in an informal situation, maybe in the evening or at a social occasion, you may use the first name. With this, we conclude the session on greetings and making introductions.
Hi, I'm Richa Sharma.
Hello Richa, I'm Zenia.
Nice
How are you?
I'm fine, how are you?
I'm fine. You've come from where?
I'm from Ranchi. I studied in Ranchi.
Okay.
My hometown is Ranchi.
Okay. So you've come here to participate like the fest in the mood, right?
Yeah.
So how's your experience so far?
So I've been to SF I'm coming to SF since past 3 years and for past
And
years.
special in Odisha.
So it's very nice. I mean, it's fun. That's why, it's very compelling that I need to come each year. So it's nice, yeah.
So the competitive spirit keeps you like coming to visiting SF time and again.
Actually, and most importantly is the fun, the people around. So it's very cool.
Very cool. Okay. So what are the events have you participated so far?
In the first year, participated in Centrifugal.
Okay.
So although we didn't win anything, but it was really fun. And second, we participated in a mighty pen, right? So that was fun too. Because it gave me a lot of information about the social causes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Centrifuge is, I must say, a really nice event.
Sorry?
Centrifuge is, I must say, a really nice event.
Exactly. A lot more innovative. People get very creative.
Thanks for sharing your experience.
Yeah.